What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Save Point Podcast, episode 23. To be honest, I almost forgot this was even a save point and what the episode was because we had just recorded one down the line. I am Alex. I, as always, am joined by Sway, and here we are for another live show. We got Tears of the Kingdom. That's pretty much like the main thing we're going after. There's technically Mortal Kombat leaks as well if we want to dive into that, but tomorrow's the big day. Just like, well, it is technically more. There's like the Diablo beta this weekend as well. But Sway, how you doing, and what you been up to before we get into the news?
I'm doing pretty good. I've played a few things. Played some Hogwarts Legacy this week. Played some Star Wars Jedi Survivor this week. Um, I have had the unfortunate privilege, but I'm like, I bought it. It was part of the edition I purchased, so I'm gonna see it through. I played that Saints Row DLC. It was about 30 minutes long. I was very disappointed. I got through it as like quickly, and I was just like, yeah, it was
Is
it
it
was looking a
better?
little hopeful, and then it wasn't.
Really? It's just as bad as the game?
The story, I think the story that they went for this DLC had a lot of potential. It just wasn't long. Like it's three missions and you're done. The first one is you. I don't know if spoilers here for anyone there that was gonna play it, but
Yeah.
the first mission basically, an actor like puts a bounty out on somebody to basically have them killed. So you kill the person, you fight through other people that's trying to collect the bounty to kill that person. And oh, by the way, there's like a new like city that was built into the map. And then after you kill that person, you go to the actor to claim your bounty. He screws you over, and then now you're planning a heist. So the second mission sees you getting like scans, basically spying on him to get scans of like his face, so that way like you can impersonate him for the heist. And once you get
Yeah.
the scans, then because obviously Militech is like advanced with technology, you're basically looking like him and talking like him throughout the entire
So
time.
it's Mission
And
Impossible.
huh?
It's Mission Impossible then.
Yes.
Well, that's
And
exactly.
basically you're going through there and you're and once like you get to the area you need to, the technology wears off. And then you're basically fighting your way in to get you, like there's lasers and stuff. It's definitely Mission Impossible. There's lasers that you got to get through. There's it, and that's it. Once you get out of there, then it's like, yeah, that's the end. Like you took his stuff and he's not coming to get it back or anything like that. He just accepts it after you take his things, and they're like props. It's not money or anything like that. It's just expensive props that you take as collectment for your bounty. And it just says the end as you're walking out, and I'm just like, really?
Oh, wow. I'm glad you used your time wisely on that. um, Wicked, what's up, buddy? Came back from vacation. You have to tell us about it. Say it in the
I hope
comments or
you
just
enjoyed.
message. I definitely want to hear about Hawaii. Yeah, Street Fighter 5 for me. That's what I've done a lot. I mean, I did Dishonored, then I did Ori and the Blind Forest. I played 3.5 hours of that, and then I did some Street Fighter 5. I'll have to ask you, Sway, when we're off, what's like your kind of your top list of like who's the best characters? Because I have a list. I'm pretty picky. I am so bad though. I have a lot of footage of me losing just matches over and over, casual matches. It was really bad, but
That
I'm having fun.
that's the
And
best. That's the best thing you can do though for fighting games. And I have to, because I take so long in between. I almost have to reinitiate myself each and every time, um, just to get the core mechanics of the game down because I play so much stuff.
yeah,
But losing is the best strategy basically to how to get better, because you're gonna eventually learn the patterns that people do online. And after that, you'll be pretty much on par
yeah.
with everybody else after a while.
I think the ranking system's a little broken because I was playing as
Oh, for
people with the
sure.
same rank as me, and they were gods. So I'm not a god, so I don't know how that necessarily works. Um, saw dolphins, shark cage diving, and sunburned. Oh my god. and a microphone. Nice.
Oh my
Yeah,
god, that's amazing.
I'll be checking out the channel. Somebody else, who was I just watching? Somebody else started a channel, and I was watching their stuff too. I don't remember who it was. So hope you're both excited for your. I'm a little worried, to be honest, because I have to make so many freaking videos ahead of time. So it's honestly probably going to be pretty stressful, but I am ready for it. Sway, what did you think about the Tears of the Kingdom scores?
I love seeing it. But then I mean, like I expected it, honestly. I think anything lower from publications than a 9 or a 10, I think I would have been like, okay, what's wrong here? Because they really didn't have to do anything considering the score of the first game.
Right. I'm looking at the scores. 96 based off 83 reviews. Gfinity, G Infinity. What is this? G Infinity gave it a 6. There's a couple that gave it an 8. T3, Eurogamer, Eurogamer Poland. Eurogamer and Eurogamer Poland gave it an 8 each. So that's funny. IGN gave it a 9, all that jazz. Or IGN Portugal. Pretty high scores. What did you think of the IGN 7 out of 10 thing? Because now when I see a game gets an 8 or a 7, now I'm kind of scarred.
That infuriated me. We all know how passionate I am about publications here. Yeah. I actually watched your video covering it too, because I'm looking at like a lot of the community and how they reacted to that when it dropped. And I was even sent that by a few people right around the time when it first dropped. And I was dumbfounded. I was waiting to see kind of what the community kind of said or if it caught on. And it caught on way better than I thought it would, because it just goes to show you that they don't care, right? And that's what they told you, is that they don't care. And I think that was the most important part to me about that entire interview, was that basically, like, they insulted developers by saying, like, basically, if your game matters, we're reviewing it. So indie games don't play a part in the gaming ecosystem at all. And then on top of that, 7 is just the middle score for them. And for me, I mean, like, I know 5 sounds a little bit low, but 5 should really be average, because if you're doing math, you're in school, and the highest that you're going to go is 10. 5 is the middle. So they didn't even have a rhyme or reason.
They took it a step forward too, or they took it a step more. They didn't just say that. They basically said, so a 7 is good.
Good.
So they go into games, if they're popular, they think it's good. Mm-hmm. Not even just it's average. They go in with the mentality that the game is already good because people are into it. That's another thing that's nuts. If it's getting searched on Google, it's good immediately. And now, it's slight exaggeration because, of course, they play it, but there's always been debate of, like, how much do they play games? Do they actually play them all the way through? Mm-hmm. So you combine them outright saying some of this stuff to then conspiracy theories that maybe they don't even beat games, and you're left with, I bet you a lot of times, not just, and by the way, they're all exactly the same. So it's not just IGN. They just said the whole industry by accident. So they play a game, probably say half of the game, just to make sure it's what they thought it was. And then they give it that score. That's what they do.
And I'll give you one better. There's two things that I picked out of that. That makes sense why Gotham Knights got the score that it got. Because if you have people who are unable to attach their personal feelings from a game and what they want out of it versus judging it for what it is, that's how you get that. If they go into it expecting it to be a 7, that means you have an expectation of this game without actually playing what it has. So now, because you didn't get what you wanted, because one, that interview, they were saying that it was a not the interview, but the review, they were saying it was a continuation of the Arkham series, which it wasn't. And then there were certain things that they were saying in that review where I was like, you didn't play past the first 30 minutes. And then you go to Kind of Funny even, and when they had one of their reviewers reviewing it, they said that after a certain portion, they just turned it off. And I'm
I
like,
didn't see
you,
that.
you can't do that when reviewing a game. You can't do that. You don't even review the game at that point because you didn't see it through. And that's kind of my biggest thing is like, even let's take Arkham, for example, right? Where Batman doesn't have all of his tools at the beginning. How you play after upgrades and getting all your tools changes how the game flows dramatically from beginning to end. So
Yeah.
your experience during the end of a game will be different than your experience during the beginning of a game, and that goes with any game with a progression system. And you can't do that. And so when he said that, and it just made so many things clear to me on top of what we already were able to pick apart from certain reviews like Gotham Knights. And it's just like, you guys don't even try. You guys just, and you do damage to companies, IPs, you do all of that. And I don't know why companies would want to, no wonder why they went with creators on Hogwarts Legacy.
This is exactly what I was going to say, Wicked. So I'm glad you said it. Like movie reviewers, that's literally when you review a movie, do you leave halfway through? When
No, you
Guardians
can't.
3 came out, did people watch an hour and say, I'm good, I can assume the rest, I'm good? So why with games do you, now games are a lot longer. Games that are open world are definitely, I'd say, the most difficult to figure out what you need to play to warrant a review, right? Do you have to 100% it? I don't think you do, to be honest. I don't think you do.
No.
I think you have to at least do the main story and then try out each feature. That's, and that's if you work at one of these companies. That too, like I know maybe that comes off as like mean, where it's like it's unfair, like expectations I'm putting on them versus somebody like me, right? So if I do a review on Tears of the Kingdom, I would like expect something different of me than I would expect for IGN, because like you're the biggest game journalism company in the planet. That's just what you are. You need to cover all bases. I don't have a checkbox. I don't have a thing where it's Alex must do this in the game and then I have to do that. I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean?
And the other thing that gets me is that you're getting paid to do this.
Yeah.
This is not like, when you do a review or when other content creators do a
Well,
review.
and my review is based on like I'll only get paid based off like the performance of the video on YouTube. These people are salaried; they'll get paid no matter what.
No matter what, and that's the difference. You have to
Yeah.
earn what you
Yeah.
do, so you have to put quality into it.
Yeah.
They legitimately get a base salary. You're getting paid during this. You're the biggest company in the world. You should have standards for your employees. They clearly don't, and that's the difference. You get paid, so you can't tell me that your job is important when you get to walk out of a movie theater or you get to stop playing a game that you are paid to review. I get, like, now if it was something like, oh, like, well, there's a lot of games, like when he said like there's like 10,000 games that we review. Yeah, that's not, I understand, like it's not possible for you to realistically go through everything. And if a game is past a certain length, like if a game, for example, is like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, for example, it's going to be long, right? Maybe I'll cut it down, like maybe like you got through the shrines and shit. And, oh, I'm sorry for cussing. You got through the shrines and stuff, and you got through a certain portion of the game. I will accept that, but I need to see them hours.
Yeah.
And that would be the only other caveat. But if you're getting paid, I'm expecting you to see that through, because you're a publication that not the diehards of the gaming community are going to see through you no matter what. Yeah. But it's the casuals who make up the majority of the gaming community who don't know any better.
And you're getting it early.
Yeah. And
like you're getting special privilege.
Exactly. And so when you get special privilege, you get it early. I think that you owe it to these companies, the companies that you're reviewing for, and the casual fan base, to give the best review in like piece possible, and they don't do that. And that's what that interview told me, is that they don't do that. And if it's not they're not going to do it, somebody has to do it, because nobody is doing it. And like you said, all of them are the same. All of these interviewers are the same. I watched Kind of Funny, And Greg Miller has said time and time again, like, oh, when we, sometimes we're reviewing a game or something like that, we'll ask around, certain things, people, in
Yeah, make
different
sure we're
publications
all
and stuff like
literally
that.
saying the same thing here.
And he said, like, when he said that, I said to myself, that's how the scores are the exact same, because you all probably do that all the time.
Yeah,
And
they,
so
they
there's so
double
many.
check. They double, because you don't want an outlier. You don't want somebody to give it a 4. Everybody else gives
Mhm.
it an 8. You'd say, well, I'll have to rethink that 4 now. Yeah, I didn't know he said that. That's funny.
This was
They,
like
they are just corporate now. They used to be individuals. Now they're the same as everybody else. So
exactly. And that's why I'm like, if I guarantee if a lot of people start watching, and I hate to say it because you're going to give a lot of these publications clicks, Kind of Funny is just the most bearable one for me. But if you watch them, they're going to slip, and they slip all the time, and they will
yeah,
give you insights to how they do things. And when you add those up to when you get interviews like that IGN one, and you add that up, you really start to realize how everything is formulated. They don't give honest opinions about what they think, and they told you that in the IGN video.
yeah,
They don't think for themselves, and that's the issue. And they want to lead you to think how they think, and they don't think for themselves, so they don't want you to think for yourself. And
right.
that's the whole thing. And when you're in charge, you're the biggest publication in the world, and you're in charge of informing the masses, especially the ones who just go to work and play the games to, like, to relieve stress. And they don't watch this stuff. They don't watch content creators, so they don't know if a game is going to be good. So they're coming to publication because you are validated it to the public masses, and you're giving them the information that you've been giving them. Is unacceptable. It's
Yeah,
unacceptable.
yeah. It's
Sorry, y'all. I got hot.
yeah. Well, no, and I want to hit a lot of these comments too. But the one last thing I wanted to say was the ending of that 60-second thing where they did the inverse, and they said, so if they don't cover it or they don't review it, or if you're not paying attention to it, it's not good. Like,
Yep.
that is, you know what? You want to make ourselves mad? Because I have the video. I
Let's do
downloaded.
it. Let's
We can
do
watch it.
it.
Let's watch it. That was insane to hear that they do that. Let me see.
Why does IGN get?
Well, okay. I'm sure you could probably hear that. So yeah, let's watch. I mean, the ending is just a joke. So if it's not popular and you don't know if you don't know about the game, that means it's not good. That is, I want to say a certain, like, that is so bad. It's just insane.
every indie game developer out there, like, if you don't know about our game, you don't matter. Like, I'm sorry for not being a AAA studio. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, let's watch.
Why does IGN give so many 7? Okay, let's talk about this. It boils down to the things we choose to review. Let me ask you this: how many games do you think were released in 2022? I don't know, like 200 or 300? Not even close. There were over.
What a moron.
Games came out on Steam in 2022. Dude, I don't even think I can name that many games. Period. Exactly.
I'm sure
There's
you
no
can.
way that IGN can review all.
and I feel like the interviewer was setting him up for some of these questions too, though. I feel like
a lot of different factors, like how many views the trailer got, if we think it looks cool, if it's trending on Google.
he really should have known better than to answer some of these questions.
The score is always a 7 or above. So if people are actually interested in the game and it looks good, most of the time it ends up being good, which is our definition of a 7. 7 means good. Of course, there are exceptions. But think about it this way: if you've never heard
Gotta take that Spider-Man poster off his wall after this.
That's a really good explanation.
Whoa. I want to hear them.
But think about it this way: if you've never heard of the game, we probably wouldn't review it, and it probably isn't that good anyway.
If you've never heard of the game, we probably wouldn't review it, and it probably isn't that good anyway. Do you know how many people slept on Dead Cells or Hades or What Remains of Edith Finch or Life is Strange or really just not Call of Duty? Like, I can't believe. Also, thinking about the beginning now, I mean, I said this before, this video was made for like 12-year-olds because it's got that cringe TikTok like feel to it. How many games released in 2022? 200 to 300. Are you an idiot? Do you not know the gaming industry? It's way more than it is, closer to 20, right? Like but like obviously they did it for an exaggerated, kind of bit, but like they're morons, both of them. If you haven't heard of the game, we won't review it, and it's probably isn't that good anyway. What a statement. I should have watched it live in the video that I was tearing them apart, because that is embarrassing that you would. And I said this in that video. There's so many, and it's not a knock on consumers. You said people 9 to 5, people that go to work, they have a family, they don't have time to watch my 17 videos a day. Okay, those people oftentimes get like 2 to 4 games a year. That's it. And you know what else? They probably only hear about 2 to 4 games a year. So IGN is telling the casual consumer it's just the biggest games, because we know you only care about the biggest games. That is true, but isn't it the job of a gaming journalist site to search out and find gems? Why do we have to do it? But we do.
They have no shame. They have no shame. And the thing that caught my eye, another thing that caught my eye more than anything, is that, just as you said, they're the ones that's supposed to be finding these gems.
Yeah.
At what point do you guys take the community serious? You're spitting in the face of every developer out there, and even the unprofessionalism, right? Even though they didn't make the video, that video of, and I'm using Gotham Knights as an example because they picked on Gotham Knights, so we're gonna use that as an example to talk about your unprofessionalism. That video y'all made where y'all edited Spider-Man to, it wasn't them, but Spider-Man was the score of Gotham Knights, and so that's what they were playing as in the Spider-Man game, fighting Shocker. It was just the score, the IGN score of Gotham Knights, and y'all plastered that all over your social media and your website. That's unprofessional. I'm all for, if you really felt like the game was that bad and you gave it the score that you gave it, that's 100% in line. That reposting that was unprofessional, and that's a way to burn bridges. And that is where you step over the line. So not only are you guys not doing the job that you're paid for, not only are you not holding up the standards that you're supposed to be upholding, being leaders in the industry, but you're also not being professional, to the point where content creators are way more professional at this point than you are.
Yeah. And they have to be, because we do know companies are sensitive, and if content creators aren't, you're kind of kicked out. But here's another thing. What about that Kotaku guy that compared Nintendo to a certain other thing? Remember that?
Yep.
So again, they're all the same. So IGN can make fun of Gotham Knights all day long, but then then they turn around, they defend a person, in like a Kotaku person, you know what I mean? And they're always talking about treating others so nicely and everybody's all equal. But I guess when Nintendo blacklists you, they're the devil. They're literally the devil. Worse, really. I can't believe it. All right, let's get some of these comments, and then we can keep talking about how bad IGN is. And again, just so you know, I know you guys are the diehards, watching it live, watching it later. I mean, we've been on this wagon for years and years and years, and it's good to see people wake up, but some people are waking up really late, and I would just like some sort of like Alex was right kind of thing, because, Sway as well. But I mean, I've been saying this for freaking forever. Back to the past review. Is that how you would say it? Back to, would the be lowercase? I never thought about it like that. I like how that looks. BTTP with a lowercase t. Reminded me that I want to play Dishonored 2, and now it'll be available on PS Plus. It is perfect timing, and I played Dishonored, the Definitive Edition, on Xbox because it was on Game Pass, and I didn't even remember that it came out on PS Plus, the Definitive Edition. So I could have just done it on PlayStation. 2 I'll play on PlayStation for sure. Yeah, what a great game. I'm loving Back to the Past, by the way. Total sidebar. PS Plus catalog is so good. It is.
Yeah.
How are you doing? Good, buddy. How about you? Hey, Alex. Hey, Sway. Hey, everybody. 80% of Sly Cooper sales come from Finland. Did you know? Do you think this would be a problem if they made a Sly TV series or movie? 80% comes from. That sounds wrong. Although it could be correct.
That's a
And
shocking fact if it is.
80% comes from Finland. I feel like the U.S. is the number one like market for games, so that would be shocking. Love when Sway goes off about publications. Can't wait for his project. Yeah, we need something to be freaking fixed. What's up? Watching Evan right now play a Storm DLC. Yes, I saw that. I saw King Greek did a like a guide too. Yeah, that's funny. And did you? And it got was it Switch? It got canceled on. That was interesting. I was actually very afraid for Hogwarts when I saw that. It's like, ooh, they're just kind of giving up. Some companies just are giving up.
The hardware can't sustain it.
Well, did you see Mortal Kombat? The leak for Mortal Kombat 1 is that it's on next gen only and Switch. So it's on Switch, but it's not on PS4 or Xbox One. I
don't think that makes it the Switch. The last one barely ran on Switch.
Oh, really? Yeah, I didn't play it. When do the scores go live? They're live. Like we said, 96, 84, 85 scores. We'll talk about let's get through these chat and we'll talk a little bit more about Zelda, things that we've seen. I've seen that this game is very long. Very long and very big, like way bigger even than Breath of the Wild. So that's nuts. Some of these people don't deserve podcasts or microphones. Like, what does the IGN guy think is going to come from answering these? I think they were doing like a bit. Like, I think it was part of an explanation video that then their team made a short / a TikTok. And, but I mean, it had to have been run by people. Like, you don't just get to post whatever you want when you work for a company. You have a senior editor or managing editor or something. So, like, somebody did okay that video. That's the scariest thing. And higher up, a person like a managing kind of job, they okayed that video to go out.
They thought that was good behavior. And that is the scariest part, is that they think that the public would accept that type of behavior in the workplace.
They literally thought that was a good reasoning. Yeah. It's a reasoning. Why do IGN give so many 7s? They're answering it. They thought, yep, that's a good answer. Oh my God. That they're out of touch. That's literally all. Yeah. It continues to show these sites are literally out of touch because they okay things like that without realizing, well, how could people do you think having a review that says too much water in a game, where water is like a primary thing, do you think that maybe people will make fun of us for that? Like, you have to have some self-awareness.
They don't. And I think what needs to happen with a lot of them is you need a staff change. Because you have the people that's there want to keep things how they are now because it benefits them and what they want out of the company more. But that's not what the company needs. That's not what the industry needs. So that you need a staff change with people who know how to move in the right direction. The crazy thing is, how does somebody in that position of power see that within their own company? It's like Phil Spencer. When he did that interview, I actually seen a lot of where he was coming from. And the moment he said the test reviewers that they have to see how the games will score, I said, that's your problem. You have a lot of yes men there that probably are scared to lose their job if they don't say something.
They gave it over a full point.
Yes.
Higher. So I honestly read from that, internally, they probably rated this game like an 8.
Yeah. And that's his issue. But with everything else that he said, I understood what he was coming from because they've been saying that as Xbox for a while. I know it wasn't necessarily the best thing that people wanted to hear, but I'm a person where if you want somebody in charge, right? You want somebody that's going to take accountability for actions and tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear all the time. And that's what he did, because the short play right now is because I don't think when he said we can make games and that's not going to overturn the sales. I think he could have worded that better. But what I believe he was getting at with the words that he used around it was, we could make great games, but the landscape, that the way that systems are right now, Nintendo is Nintendo. They're going to make their sales no matter what. PlayStation has a strong footing. Their focus isn't even on consoles. They're just he didn't say this, but he basically said it. They're a company that sells a console, but they're not a console company anymore. They said a few months back that their competition isn't Sony and Nintendo. Their competition is Apple. And when you think about it, and other companies, when you think about it, we've talked about this before. We don't know how many console generations we have left. Yeah. And if that's the case, then they've already won the next war. Yeah. And so that's where I'm like, I understand, like they obviously care about games because the Game Pass model, in order to keep it going and feeding it, you're going to have to care about your first party games. So I don't think that they don't care about them. And as I say, I hate the way that he worded some things, but I don't necessarily disagree with him. I just think that he worded them in certain areas very horribly.
The controversial stuff on Twitter of like they should just become a third party publisher is kind of right.
Yeah,
and it's kind of what they already are. If you're
that's like, where they already are.
If you're not like a fanboy, you're not these console warriors. That's not a bad thing either. Saying that out loud, you're saying drop out of the console race, so I guess people are mad. But in reality, that's their greatest strength is play anywhere and look at the companies we own. Look at the studios we own. They're positioned perfectly to drop it, work out a deal with Sony and Nintendo, get Game Pass on these consoles. Microsoft rakes in the money, and then you just buy those consoles. And you have PC, and you have cloud, and you have your TV, and you have your phone. That's all, and that's not a bad thing. That's what's going to happen. It will. It will happen.
The other thing is that for everybody that wanted like a beefier PlayStation or a beefier Xbox, they offered you that. But what did they do with the last generation? They offered you a cheaper model that was less powerful, but you could play all the next gen games for the most part on that console. Their priority is the ecosystem. It's not the console. That's why I'm like, your PlayStation 5s is basically a PC now. It's a PC basically. They have PC hardware in there. It's not constructed like a console anymore. The console war is, even if they pump out like a PlayStation computer, right? You're still going to be using computer like Microsoft owned OSs, unless they use Linux or something else. You're still going to be using all these same tools. So the long game that they're playing chess, not checkers. And this is coming from a PlayStation primary guy that's been PlayStation primary my whole life. That they're playing chess, not checkers.
Yeah, I just want games. That's like a third avenue too. It's like, I get, I think this stuff gets exhausting, and I don't know how these console warriors like do it. But like at the end of the day, my biggest beef with console warriors, why I hate them so much, is like they put their allegiance to this corporation and to literally a piece of hardware. They put that ahead of the games. We're in this to play games. So the idea that you would hate an Xbox game just because it's Xbox or PlayStation is so dumb. It is the worst opposite you could ever do. That's the whole point. I don't care where I play it. I care the game itself. If you're not giving good games, but you let me play it on the freaking moon, I don't care because the game's not good. I only care about the game. And my channel is linked to game. My channel would die if there is no gaming, so I have a stake in it. But also, as a person who's played games since I was like 5 or 6, like I don't care where I'm playing it on. Just give me games.
The beautiful thing about that too is that for the people that are mad that he said what he said, I want you to think about this. If he goes the other way, because this is where I find it, hypocritical for PlayStation to even want to block this deal that they're trying to make. If he goes the other way, the only way to add value to the Xbox at this point is to become a less consumer-friendly route. That's to make things exclusive. That's to go to PlayStation route, which is we're going to release games, not day and date with PC, and we're going to hold them off for a while. And then after we feel like we've made their sales, then we're going to release it on PC. You're asking for a less consumer-friendly landscape. That's what you're asking for. So for people who had PCs but maybe wasn't able to get the new Xbox when it came out in 2020, the PC allowed you to play those games. You didn't miss out on anything because it came to PC. And so that's what you're asking for. when you say that, it's like we're asking to make more exclusive things to Xbox. That's the only way you're going to get that console to mean anything more, because that's what PC has done, is giving you another route. So it's like, do I want to buy something that's going to last longer probably than a console, and it's going to give me everything that I want in one place? Yeah, you're probably going to go with that if you can afford to go with that. So they've been in a different space now for a long time.
Yep, agreed. Well said. I think there's a lot of facts coming from this episode here. Arrogance, so cringe, head hurts. There's a reason IGN only plays on GameStop TVs. Do they really? Is that a real thing, or is that a joke?
As a person that used to work at GameStop, that's interesting to me if they're on GameStop TV.
That's why we hear / watch our preferred YouTubers. They make so much better coverage of slept on games. And what ends up happening, and I mean, yes, it is, I think. Okay, what am I trying to say? So, like, okay, you can find like your Hogwarts guy, right? Like, I was the Hogwarts guy for a long time. Then there was a bunch of others, and so you could find them. It's unfair, I think, to expect that of IGN. And you could also, I guess, then branch that out and say they can never be super hardcore into anything, because you could find a YouTuber that just does Zelda content. IGN, they're more well-rounded. And I would say that it's true. I would say in general, these run-of-the-mill, they're good. They're very talented. Like I just watched a Zelda specific video from a Zelda channel. They've had like 200 videos, a lot of subscribers. All they do is cover Zelda. They're incredibly talented at what they do, but they're not well-rounded at all in terms of, yeah. And IGN is, but then IGN is just not deep in anything. So you really kind of have to pick. I guess almost inadvertently, it's what I've tried to do. It's like, your website is almost kind of what podcast now is, where like I'm trying to literally be the most well-rounded, but also deep in as many games as possible. It's hard. The algorithm hates that because it's basically trying to be a website with just like, 50 articles a day, but then you expect of me that I know what I'm talking about with each game.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I've thought about that a lot recently, like the last couple months. That is basically what I am. That is what my channel is. And I've done that to myself, like when I talk about Kingdom Hearts and IGN talks about Kingdom Hearts, you would expect me to know more than them. But I also cover like 17 other things, and maybe that writer at IGN only covers like 3. They still have no talent. They still can't even talk about those 3 things, but they do it.
And I think transparency would just go a long way. Like if you're not like that versed on the series, I think making that abundantly clear for the audience, like more so for publications, I think that they could benefit from that. Like, because I think some readers would come into that thinking like, okay, like even the company isn't that well versed, so we're going to see how they think of it and everything like that, instead of acting like a professional and acting like you know everything all the time. You don't. Yeah. So I think it's a lot of nuances that they, like I said before, they haven't evolved. The stuff that they did change were stuff that didn't need to change or have nothing to do with what their mission statement is. And a lot of their business practices are outdated and they don't care to update them. So
agreed. Discovered so many games with a couple channels. Yep. Sly 4 beat The Last of Us in 2013 in Finland. Jesus. Okay, I may believe that then. I may believe Finland is like the place for Sly.
We got to visit Finland. Yeah.
What do we have to do to get Finland to reproduce more? I guess. I hope the Force serves you well. Oh my God, welcome in. I hate the gatekeepers of console wars. We have the best games. Games and consoles are for whoever would like to buy and play them. I believe in a democratic distribution of games. Yeah. I mean, you can make like an ecosystem of historically, PlayStation is very dominant. PlayStation back in PS1, PS2 was so strong. And then PS3, when they were playing from behind, right? PS3 did not start well. That was real. I think PlayStation always does best when they are losing.
Yeah.
Because that's when they're forced
to be considered.
Yeah, like Uncharted, Uncharted, Last of Us, Heavy Rain, that's Quantic Dream, but Infamous, Resistance, Killzone maybe a little bit too early, but like so many of the PS3 era exclusives, Puppeteer, smaller games like indies, so many of them came in that PS3 era. Now it's what I grew up on, and I'm sure people in the PS2 era could probably go into stuff with that as well, and I like Sly and stuff.
Mhm.
And that's fair, but I really think PlayStation does really well when they're losing and they have to get kind of creative, and they've always played from behind because of money. They do not have. There is an unfair factor. Microsoft would do exclusive things like Sony's doing now. They did that back. Remember Tomb Raider? Tomb Raider was on Xbox for a full year before PlayStation. That's huge.
They started the
They
exclusivity
started.
war. They did it with Call of Duty on 360.
Yeah. So
They started it.
Xbox started it. Then they moved on to buying things. Sony then pivoted to, and Sony, because you can't compete like that, they took what they're good at, which is cultivating, I think would be the word, cultivating talent. And I mean, they have different strengths. Microsoft is unlimited power and money. And
Yeah.
eventually you're going to get success there. Like people keep saying like the haters, right? Console, like they always will say like they act as if they're completely doomed. Like they'll never get a good game. Starfield, I think, will be a good game at worst. At
Mhm.
worst, it'll be good. And at best, it'll be game of the year. Hellblade 2, I think there's no chance that game's bad. There's
No.
not a chance Hellblade 2 is a bad game. So, like, we're there. I think in the next half year, Xbox will have their slam dunks.
And
Fable, I think, is very iffy. Fable can definitely be bad. Perfect Dark could be bad, but they could also be really good. State of Decay, Indiana Jones, I think, has a high likelihood of being good.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, Redfall never looked like it was going to be game of the year. Hellblade, you tell me when Hellblade's looked bad to you, Hellblade 2. Tell me,
And the thing he said about Redfall 2 really caught my eye because it sounds like something that they did in PlayStation 3. He didn't blame the team for the product. He blamed himself. And he said that one thing he won't do is discourage the team from wanting to be creative.
Yeah.
I love that because there's going to be successes and failures. The only difference is that the internet wasn't as prevalent as it was in the PlayStation 2 days, and I'd say the beginning of the PlayStation 3 days. So like when companies tried things, if they failed, there was not this big hoopla about it. You know what I'm saying? People were just like, oh, this game wasn't what I wanted, and they moved on to the next. And that's what the culture he's willing to cultivate there. I like what he's doing. He just they've been off to a rocky past.
And he made a good point, and I even sometimes forget this even happened. Hi-Fi Rush is should I give it away? Hi-Fi Rush is my favorite game of the whole year. It's my game of the year. So that just came out. Like I forget that because it came out in January as a stealth drop. But yeah, you had Redfall, which was terrible, but Hi-Fi Rush was also the best game I played the whole year. Better than Jedi, to me. Better than Jedi, Resident Evil, Hogwarts. So like they're kind of 50-50 right now to me because you made one masterpiece and you made one bad one. So you know what I mean? So people do, and he mentioned Hi-Fi and he mentioned Age of Empires.
Yep.
Which I was trying to get a code for, and I didn't.
And that's why, like, it's not all about, people overlook that. I think that people don't even sometimes
they move on to it's just the next thing. So you forget about 2 months ago, 3 months ago, they just did it, right? Yeah, no, that's exactly. You just move on. So I mean, they'll forget, right? Well, Redfall is a case study in probably mismanagement and a lot of different things for sure. Not as big as like Cyberpunk, but I'm sure it'll be remembered. But as you get closer to Starfield, it'll just all be Starfield. Like there'll be
a lot of pressure. Even a lot of people feel like a lot of pressure is on.
If there's anybody who can handle pressure, it's Todd Howard.
Yep.
I just wish KOTOR remake, the game I first appeared in, would be great. That would come to Xbox as well. It depends on if Sony still has that deal or maybe they let it go. I could see Sony letting it go, and then could be on anything. Yeah, the more the merrier. Play the game. The game should come out as many places as they can. Lavella Stream went from a Zelda one to an FIGN, and I'm here for it. Yeah, the issue with live podcasts is I can have that title in my head, like, we'll talk about the reviews, and it could just be something completely different, which maybe the title is now misleading, but that's what you get when you do a live show. I think they're more fun though, way more fun. If we'll even release, yeah. What do you think about the KOTOR remake, Sway? You think it's still real? I think it's still happening.
I think it's still happening. I don't know if the exclusivity is going to be there, but because I can see Microsoft, like I said, if all you need is a win, right? People, you just need one win to get you back on the right track. And there's a lot of things that I think that Microsoft specifically can do to combat that. So, like, for example, Sony has Spider-Man, they're getting all the Marvel stuff. There was talk of like a year or two ago about Microsoft wanting to go after DC stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Buying NetherRealm was a rumor.
Yeah, and so I wouldn't be surprised if they cut a deal to have, DC property stuff like exclusive, and that would play a part into if Knights of the Old Republic is not, like that deal isn't there anymore, they can slide into that from Star Wars. But then again, Disney and Sony kind of work together, and Sony has Spider-Man, so I don't know how that would work out because they got some leveraging chips over there at Sony.
Yeah, some of these cultures, right? But Sega has always been tied to Microsoft, even though like Square Enix will never be bought. They'll never sell themselves to Microsoft, but like Sega seems willing. So it's kind of it's a little odd how that stuff works. It's gonna like I keep saying, like EA I think won't sell.
No,
although they have said I think they're willing to, so it's not even a guarantee. But I
Sony
think
couldn't buy them. I think that they're worth more than Sony.
I don't know who Tencent could buy them. Maybe you know what I mean. Like, but I'm thinking like long term, Embracer Group, Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, Tencent. That's 5. EA, maybe. Ubisoft will not last. Ubisoft will be bought. Sega will be bought. Square Enix will be bought. Any others? Like there's 8 really or 9 really big ones. Like there's under 10 already. Private division or Take Two.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how long Take Two. I think Take Two would want to get eventually Sony or Microsoft. I mean, like, can't Microsoft just do that instead? Like when the deal for if the deal for Activision Blizzard doesn't
go
through,
after Take Two.
Just go after Take Two.
I wouldn't want Sony to own Take Two anyway, because I felt like that's the more route.
Who has the bigger chance of giving us LA? How do you say it? Noir. How do you get that game back, and how do you get Bully back? Whoever has the better.
Microsoft.
You
to be perfectly honest, Microsoft will be the key. Not saying that Sony isn't opposed to more mature content, but seeing as like the partnerships that they have, and how freely like Microsoft is with like letting like that creative freedom, I just would prefer that to go to Microsoft.
Well, if you're looking at Microsoft and Sony and who's willing to bring back old projects, it's not Sony. No, Sony is only willing to do it in movies and television with like Gravity Rush and stuff. But when Sony starts to give me Resistance, Killzone, Infamous, and Sly, and PlayStation All-Stars, then I'll believe that they're, in it for the past stuff. I want to do everything in my power to help the website overtake IGN eventually. There you go. Power to the people. Isn't that power to the player? That's GameStop, right?
Believe me, I'm working hard on it.
You know how they came up with that slogan, power to the player?
That I don't know. In fact, that wasn't always the case too, because I got hired in 2013, and we went through a couple of slogans like that. We went through a couple of things. There was a credit card, and then they stopped with the credit card. The way that the pro memberships work were totally different than how they work right now. But that was not always their slogan, and it was I forget what the older one was, but so many things changed. But it's not power to the players, but that's a good slogan, but it's not power to the players.
And GameStop owns Game Informer, right?
They do.
Yeah.
So when you get like a pro membership, that's actually in your account. You get free Game Informer, for a year.
Game Informer's okay. Game Informer doesn't create as much controversy as you think it would.
No, I go to Game Informer quite often, to be honest. I think they're more integral than most of the places.
Yeah. I just hope Kotaku won't take over IGN. Oh, no. Kotaku is literally on the brink of death. Like, I know writers there will like scream on Twitter and say, no, our website's doing so well. you've lost all value. That website's worth nothing. When the recession hits, that website is like, what do you want to bet on? Like, it's for sure dead.
And what we don't want is writers and employees from Kotaku defecting over to IGN. That's what we don't want.
I don't think well, they're all so broke. I don't think IGN could take. You can't just absorb like 20, 30 people.
They can barely afford to pay their writers now.
Yeah. Remember that controversy like a year ago with the
$20, I think, per article?
It was like $15-$20, wasn't it? Or something? Yep. Yeah. And people were writing in and saying that's on the low end. Like, it's normally higher than that. Yeah. Not surprising then. That's more about that. I mean, if Xbox would own Sonic Spider-Man, people would be mad. Yeah. Hellblade 2 and Starfield will be a masterpiece. Xbox might get a big comeback, and Spencer's philosophy might change because you only need great games to convince people. Yeah, I that was the only thing. That was the biggest thing. Definitely, I didn't agree with what Phil over there.
You could definitely sell consoles with great games.
Yeah, I think it's faster than he believes it is too. Like, I really do think maybe not one, but I think if you do like 2 or 3 within the span of a year, I do think you would change. Like, 100%. And also, we do know, because he said like that 90% thing, that isn't true, because Sony in those court documents, the official data is 30% actually switched. So when Phil said 90% go into the console generation knowing what they're getting, PlayStation in the court had to say only 70% of PS5 owners owned a PS4. So 30% of PS5 owners did not own a PS4. So that's not true what Phil said. I don't think he lied. I think he just didn't know that.
I think he also said what he needed to say for this appeal. I think he was thinking while like telling the truth, but he was also trying to make the truth sound a little bit more bleak than it was, because his tone, I'm pretty sure he's disappointed in himself. It's not the first time he's owned up to failure before, but specifically how heavy the tone was of despair, I think that even to the point where they're like trying to cheer him up towards the end of the interview, I think that was clearly done to get across like we need this out there.
Yeah, that's true. But I do think, like, if you hit with Starfield alone, if Starfield is a game of the year game, that changes things immediately.
That's a console seller.
Yeah. And that's not even
a console seller.
Yeah. And then, I mean, Hellblade, I don't think changes much, right? I think it's just more fans would say, okay, you got 2 in a row. Starfield would. I think a Fable would. Any system seller, would do it. You have to wait 15 years for Fallout 6 and Elder Scrolls. You'd have to wait literally forever for those. But Starfield literally would change things immediately. But I know some people were reading into it where they're like, well, his mentality, does that mean he thinks Starfield isn't going to be so good? Like I said, I think internally they probably expect Starfield to be at least good, like in that 8 range. Maybe they don't expect it to be a game of the year, but they definitely, I would assume, expect it to be good.
I think he might also, that tone was because of the failure recently of Xbox and everything that he came on and said. Yeah. I think that he's lowering expectations to overperform, because even if they're confident, the last thing, especially what he was saying, the last thing that you can do at that point is say like, but Starfield's going to be great. And there's going to be, because one, that's putting even more pressure than it already is. And it's already a lot of pressure on that team. But number 2, you're guaranteeing that something's going to be great after a failure. So he doesn't want to do that. So he's just speaking like, this should be a good game. This should be it. And as I said, I looked at that and I'm like, I can see why the method to his madness is what I'm saying. Like, I can see the method to his madness and his approach. It was a very smart approach from him.
I actually was scared, maybe irrationally, that tears would come out as a fumble. I was starting to wonder, like, well, I really did expect like mid-90s. Like, I just kind of assumed it was going to be a slam dunk. Maybe there was a part of me where maybe it wasn't going to be as high as Breath of the Wild. It's tied in the scores right now with Breath of the Wild. They did it. They did it again. And Zelda literally, I mean, like, we've been saying it for weeks now. I'm glad we do this because we have like evidence of what we say. Zelda is going to sell like 20 million in its sleep in the next like 3 weeks. Like, it's going to be nuts.
It's probably going to be game of the year again.
It's going to, it's going to win. Yeah. Like 100%. I don't want to read into scores too much, but like now what the critics think, and they're just going to carry that straight through till the center. I really don't think Starfield or Spider-Man is going to do that.
And that's what I've been saying for months, was that there was no way to know because they didn't release any information. But I'm like, if it's anything like the first one and they just innovate with just 2 or 3 different things, you talked about it.
Yeah.
I don't see how it wouldn't be game of the year. I mean, even with Spider-Man, even with Star Wars, even with a lot of even the unexpected ones like Hi-Fi Rush, like it's a lot of it, like as far as the industry goes, like there's no way I didn't see anything beating it. And now it's confirmed. Like it would take a miracle.
Yeah. I still don't have a game of the year game for me. Like, I don't play most modern games because I don't care about most of them. Just give me mindless Wonder Woman and KOTOR remake on my Xbox. Yeah. I mean, there's that group too. There's honestly like a group of people that just are so sick of modern games. They just play, retro older stuff. And again, with the IGN going back to like what they care about versus not, like there's plenty of people that are like that too. And that's totally fine. There's a lot of people that have checked out. I think, Monolith's Wonder Woman game, that is maybe the biggest underdoggy, like quiet game of the year contender that's just like brewing.
Yeah.
That like people aren't focusing on it, but I think immediately once they show it, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, that's gonna be insanely good. But like we're talking about it now, or we've been talking about it for a while. They just have such talent there, and the Nemesis system and all that. So yeah, I can't freaking wait. Give me it. Wouldn't surprise that Starfield is going to do very good. Yeah. I think Starfield is getting underestimated. Like maybe Redfall isn't as good because they wanted to full focus on Starfield. Well, they're different teams. I don't know what happened to that team. I'll say that. That's a team that made Prey, I believe, and that's disappointing. I'm going to assume so many people left, and that's not the same team that made Prey because it can't be. It can't be. Like, I refuse to believe that. Prey is so good, and so is Dishonored. I don't see any issues with flipping on topics. Thank you. So far, from what I've seen with Tears of the Kingdom, it's pretty good. Metacritic is excellent. Yep. All right. We're so far behind. Like Otaku should go on strike and never come back. They should. Toxic people on all sides.
That's true. That's very true.
Remember that Mighty Keith video with Microsoft talking with Sony, and Microsoft said, I don't have to beat you, I only have to buy you. So Sway, since I've watched like all his stuff, since you showed, I'm so glad that you showed me him because he's so funny. And I watch every video. I went back like the last 2 or 3 years, and there's the one of there's the newest video I think of the Tears of the Kingdom when it leaks and like he just like shuts the guy down. He's like, I'm gonna own everything that you ever do. He's so good. He's so funny.
Mighty Keith.
Well, that's just crazy. Zelda will probably get an easy game of the year if Spider-Man doesn't come out. I mean, just to be transparent in case, first time watching or whatever, like I'm not saying, I don't know, like Hi-Fi Rush is mine and I don't know if this will beat it. So there's like personal preference. I think it's very possible Spider-Man could be a better game. I'm just saying, seeing the reviews, I cannot imagine game journalists are going to give Spider-Man 2 a 97, 98 on Metacritic. It's not going to happen. I just think Tears is going to carry over. I mean, Breath of the Wild did the same thing.
Our games of the year is going to be different probably than what we're assuming the game of the year is going to be.
Right. Yeah. When I say game of the year in that sense, I'm always talking about them. I don't care ultimately, I get maybe a little upset when the Game Awards and they give stupid games and people awards and stuff, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to me. Yeah, I think at this point, I think Spider-Man is still very much, possible.
I
Hi-Fi
hope
Rush,
Resident Evil remake is considered.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. Like for me, I don't know what's gonna beat Hi-Fi. I think I'm trying to think of like the upcoming games.
I'm pretty
Starfield, Spider-Man. I don't think like Assassin's Creed. Like I'm just trying to like project ahead. I think Starfield, Spider-Man. That's probably it. Those are probably the only, and Zelda. I think Zelda can't. I mean, I'm not the biggest Zelda fan, so that may hurt it. Like when I'm playing, it. But
Breath of the Wild was my game of the year that year. So like
well,
I'm prepared for that to be the case. But in a year where it's Spider-Man for me, like I said, like there's so much he's my best character as far as like what my knowledge goes in comic books.
yeah.
Him and Nightwing are my two favorites. So uh I don't think I'll be able to detach myself enough for me to not to like anything more.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like the first game and they just build on that. Spider-Man would probably be that selfishly for me.
Sway, this is an insane question that I don't think we've ever been asked. What's your favorite fictional character? That is the first name is Jack Sparrow that comes to my head. But I think if I sat on that too long, because then I have to think about gaming, Nathan Drake, but Sly Cooper, I think, would be up there. Oh my God, Crash. And then if I want to go back to movies, I mean, you could throw in like Batman and Spider-Man. You know what I mean? Like if you want to go, that would be so difficult. Like Jack Sparrow is definitely one. I also weirdly want to say Max from Life is Strange. I don't know why. She's one very early one. Tali from Mass Effect. Love her so much. Ratchet and Clank for me. I think you almost have to cap it. You have to go by like year. You got to go by generation. You got to go by medium. So you can't do movies and games because there's too many.
There's too many.
You could do superheroes and you could probably go on forever. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
No, like especially with superheroes, I could go on forever.
League is a good one. Clementine stands out for me. Yeah, no, that is. What would be your? So if you just what's the first name that jumped to you?
Dick Grayson.
Okay.
Dick Grayson.
I think you almost have to go with your gut and say that would be the one, just like Jack Sparrow. It's probably mine then.
That's the first name on mine. And then you go down from there. But top 5, I mean, like Dante and Nero will probably be in my top 5 too. So
yeah, that's really hard. Someone could say Batman is the best. Might say it's Punisher one. Yeah, in my opinion, yeah, that's a tough one. Oh wait, did Sway guess it? Oh yeah, Sway doesn't say Nightwing or Master Chief. I'm gonna go ballistic.
I did Grayson. I said it.
Master Chief is a good one too. To be honest,
Master Chief was gonna be. It was almost over the tip of my tongue.
But even like Mario, like if you think about icons, like Mario deserves something. I don't know. Yeah, that's fun. Now you could go on literally. That's why I think we both love this space. There is basically infinite. You could go based off genders. You could go based off of consoles. You could like literally what I said. You could go top 50 characters in third party games in 2011, and you could fill out that 50 with like elite character. You know what I mean? Like you can make a really small sample size and still find a huge quality to it. So yeah, gaming's not dead yet. Master Cheeks. I watched the Act Man video rewriting. Yeah. Who's the one who started saying that? Is it him?
I don't remember, but I know that it's infamous from the show. Like once the show,
it's because of the show, but like the Act Man, I think on YouTube. Like I'm trying to think of who's the first content creator that used the phrase "Master Cheeks." Maybe it was Twitter, but
it might have been one of the Halo streamers because like there is a few Halo YouTubers that I watch, and they covered the show intensively, and they like one of them. I can't remember which one. Might have been Experience, but like somebody said Master Cheeks, and it was the first time I had heard it, and I laughed.
I still laugh. Oh, Master Cheeks, South Park character. Oh yeah, Television would probably be, but like Walter White, is he a fictional character? Yeah, he's got, or Darth Vader. Oh man, yeah, I don't want to. I can't think too hard about it. All
Anakin
right,
is
guys.
high up there for me. So Anakin.
Anakin. There you go. All right, guys. This was fun. This was maybe our best episode. I don't want to label it, but I think when you go into the archives and you think about the Save Point Podcast episode 23, you might say that was kind of a gem. 25 might be the week that we miss, because if the PlayStation Showcase is in 2 weeks, it'll be like a pre-recorded one. That'd be 25. Maybe we'll get a guest or something. We'll have to make 25 kind of special. That was fun. We'll be back next week for sure. We'll live stream it. Week later, like I just said, depends on if PlayStation does something. And then we should be okay to live stream kind of straight through until we both are missing in action, which we'll just say it now, I guess. I mean, we're recording some videos ahead of time. So we just did an episode before we went live that'll go up late June. And we're going to do 2 more. So next week, actually, we'll have to do that. So yeah, so lots of episodes coming, pre-recorded or live, all that stuff. Appreciate you guys watching. Sway, is there anything you want to say? I don't want to take it completely away.
Oh no, thank you all for asking questions. Thank you all for being engaging. We always appreciate it. I love each and every one of you. Thank you so much for the support.
There you go. Thanks, guys, for being here, and we'll see you all on the next one.